As an Indigenous American, I'm a survivor and witness to the largest invisible genocide in world history. I'm a Chicano. I'm a father of five. I'm the former president of LULAC, the oldest and largest Latino civil rights organization in the USA, Pacific Northwest Council. The president and commissioner of the Pierce County Arts Commission, king of the Brown Berets of Washington, CEO of Rise Against Racism, a nonprofit in Washington State, and owner of See Me Rise LLC. As you can see, I have made it so every aspect of my life, I am in the position to fight back against the invisible genocide that follows my people. I'm going to take you on a tour of my reality of living through an invisible genocide. When I say the word fight, it will always mean with our knowledge and voices to educate and build an alliance for justice. First, I'm going to define genocide. Then I'll start a tour of multiple pieces of genocide that have plagued the Chicanos in the past few centuries. And finally, I will express why this matters to you and what I believe we should do about it. According to the dictionary, genocide is the deliberate, systematic destruction of a racial or political or cultural group. The term genocide started being used in 1943 by Raphael Lemkin, who put together the Greek word genos, meaning race or tribe, and the Latin word "cide," which meant kill, to kill. Being Jewish and Polish and living through the rise of Hitler gave him a unique perspective to build a law to protect future generations from the unrecognized crime. Lemkin helped start the United Nations Genocide Convention that came into effect in January 1951. The convention defined genocide as any of the following acts committed with the intent to destroy or in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group, such as killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to the members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction, in part or in whole, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, and forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. The convention also said that the offending states must create laws to protect the group and punish those. I'm currently working on my Bachelor's of Law and Policy, so my thoughts are not accepted as truths right now, yet these truths are known and no one has been held accountable. It is hard to know where to start this trail because my ancestors have lived in North America for over 23,000 years. And no, we are not part Asian. Fossil footprints were found inside the White Sands National Park in New Mexico that date back 23,000 years, according to the article. This means my people might have been riding the woolly mammoths 10,000 years ago. I might use this moment of extremism to bring to light a time which, from the 1500s to the early 1820s, the area that is from Texas up to Canada all the way over to Washington was all New Spain, where Spanish conquistadors were settling with indigenous women throughout the countryside for 300 years. In October 1800s, Louisiana and the land up to Canada was given to France from Spain in the secret treaty of San Ildefonso. Spain lost all claims to the land in 1820 when they lost Mexican Revolution to indigenous Americans. This means Louisiana really belongs to the indigenous Americans when the United States claimed to buy it from the French. So the real map nobody sees is the 13 colonies who unanimously vote to genocide indigenous Americans to make their own country larger, and New Mexico, which was the rest of what is currently the United States of America. What you see in the big yellow section is the current USA is Mexico, or belongs to indigenous Americans. All indigenous people born here in the area are what considered as Chicanos. Mexico, after defeating Spain is depleted of resources and decides to let some Europeans join Mexico in what is now Texas to help with the economy. On September 15th, 1829, a part African, part indigenous American president of Mexico prohibits slavery in Mexico. This causes tension in Texas because the Europeans did not want to free their slaves. At this same time in 1835, the 13 colonies, Andrew Jackson is letting Georgia steal land from indigenous Americans on the East Coast, even after the Supreme Court ruled that Georgia had no rights to the tribal land. Europeans now want to head west in search of freedom from oppression of the colonies. Racist slave owners in Tennessee, like Davy Crockett and family, created a militia and headed to Texas to defend a small fort named the Alamo, where Europeans forced native Chicano Americans, or Tejanos, to fight with them against Mexico. The Battle of the Alamo was fought in February and March of 1836. 6 weeks later, Sam Houston caught Santa Anna and his army sleeping in San Jacinto and forced them to give Texas independence from Mexico. Many Chicanos were hung and murdered by the Texas Rangers, who emboldened every other European man who wanted to kill the Indian and become a hero. I don't go so far as to think that the only good Indians are dead Indians, but I believe 9 out of 10 are, is what President Theodore Roosevelt said during a January 1886 speech in New York. As you see, the genocide is in full swing when compared to definitions: killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to the group, deliberately inflicting the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. In 1823, James Monroe used Manifest Destiny when he talked to Congress, warning other European nations the aggression against the Americas to further colonize would be seen as an act of war. Manifest Destiny is the smoke and mirrors for the continued genocide of indigenous Americans to further the territory of the 13 colonies of England. Manifest Destiny is the code word for Chicano Holocaust. In 1930s, during the Depression, they created a Repatriation Act in which they deported 2 million Mexicans and Chicanos. I believe it was 1 million Chicanos, so United States citizens, to Mexico. And they called it the Repatriation Act. In the 1950s, they created a bracero program, which the United States needed farm workers. So they brought millions of Mexicans. They invited them. And then in 1954, they created a program called Operation Wetback, where they took 2 million Chicanos again and Mexicans and once again deported them to Mexico. Then that was called Operation Wetback. From the early 1900s all the way to 1960s, when you would come through the southern border, they would make all the Mexicans take gasoline baths. And this was well documented for at least 50 years. They also have been illegally sterilizing Latina women and indigenous American women in reservations and around the United States of America. And this is well documented. So they call us Mexicans, Indians, and Spanish, but we call ourselves Chicano. And we plan to fight for our right to exist and to self-determine our existence. Yeah, so Chicanos didn't get constitutional protection until after 1954. And that's because we were never considered white, and that's what is considered to be a citizen of America. So they wanted everybody to assimilate the same. A lot of people did assimilate. We know that. We know the Irish assimilated. We know the Slavs, all the other ones that weren't Anglo-Saxon. They all assimilated to Anglo-Saxon ways. And then the Middle Easterners also assimilated so they could be white, so they could be accepted as white. But they did a better job at assimilating than us because we didn't assimilate well. Our generations kept saying, hey, we don't get treated like white, so we're not going to be put in the white box. And that's where we are today. What you can do as students and staff of UWP is support Mecha, which is the group that is the Chicano movement. We're the ones that have to organize ourselves and finish educating ourselves and create this change that we need to see in this country. But without all of you, it's pretty much hopeless. We need each other. We need to understand that a lot of us, different cultures, are going through the same exact thing. So we have to team up. Like I said, educate those around you about what's happening, because this fight is going to move forward. It has to be a movement, and it has to go all the way to Washington, D.C., and we're going to be able to fight for our race, man. It's going to be easy because now we got DNA to show us we're indigenous Americans. So we just need the rest of the country to help us out. Thank you.